It's lights, camera, action. The best of club football is back from England to Spain, from Anfield to La Ceramica. We're treated to goals, tackles, dribbles, and the very best of club football. With that, I welcome you to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolisi. Of course, it's a loaded show. We have a lot to unpack, and I do this always in company of my homeboy, Bankole Oladunia. And the most interesting part of this show is where we give you the very best of tips coming up this weekend for the punters. Hey, not to worry, we have you covered. Remember, this is the best sports show you can get anywhere in the land. We give you the very best of analysis, information, education, and a tinge of entertainment. We're going on a short break. When we return, it's going to be action because Bankole and myself will delve right into the very best of what we have in store for you. Welcome back from that short break. It's good to have you once again on set. Bankole, how you doing?
It's good to be here, Edwin. It was a fantastic weekend. We talked about league football in England and Spain. We also had cup action, in Germany and Italy. Milan, played in the Coppa Italia round of 64, which was, what I think was a shame for a club of that size. But it's good to have club football back, especially at the highest level.
All right, let's delve straight into action. We started the English Premier League. We saw Liverpool give us the cotton razor at home against Bournemouth. 6 goals in all, 4 for Liverpool, 2 for Bournemouth. But hey, of course, we saw ugly scenes, despicable, racist remarks from that Liverpool fan. How, Bankole, you are on a wheelchair, you're racist? What a terrible combination.
So I think racism, I think hate, I think all of these things stems from the fact that a lot of people do not love themselves.
Yeah.
If you don't love yourself, then you tend to project that hate onto others. And so I understand, not that I'm justifying the racism, but I just understand that the bitterness that would make you see someone else just because they have a different color as lesser than you, is not something that should be tolerated in the game. But I appreciate the fact that Semenyo composed himself and he didn't let it get to his head. He allowed the proper authorities to dispatch of the racist. I saw the president and I was like, yes, this is someone who hates himself. This is someone who is not especially happy with himself and is projecting that onto others. So there shouldn't be space for racism in the game. But I don't think this is a battle that we can fight to the end. I think it's a never-ending battle between football and racism because we are still going to have racism in society. And football is also part of the society. You cannot isolate football from the society. So it's something that the football authorities would have to work their way through. All
right, let's get into the action on the field itself. We saw the very best of Liverpool scoring 4 goals. We also saw those frailties we highlighted a couple of weeks ago in defense. Overall, 3 points, very important, first game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Liverpool fans will be worried. I think Arne Slot will be worried. You cannot score 4 goals in every game. Yeah. There is no way you would score 4 goals and you still be uncomfortable in getting to victory. And that was exactly what happened in Liverpool. They were way too easy to catch on transitions. They were way too easy to split through in midfield. I don't think the inclusion of Gravenberch will automatically solve all of these issues. I don't think.
But sorry to cut your line of thought there. Don't you think Gravenberch gives them a bit of control? What they lack. Yeah, Szoboszlai tried, but Szoboszlai is more of a ball carrier than a controller.
I feel Liverpool would have control regardless of Gravenberch because you would always have Liverpool with more of the ball, regardless of who they play. They would always have more of the ball. The problem is covering spaces. The problem is covering the lapses in defense. And Gravenberch, I don't think, especially with the fact that his workload would have increased this season with Milos Kerkez and Frimpong, very attacking-oriented fullbacks. So I struggle to see how he would be able to do all of that alone. But also, the only consolation is that Arne Slot is a fantastic coach, and I still believe all of this can be solved by coaching. The application of McAllister, Szoboszlai, Florian Wirtz might, help in covering these loopholes for Liverpool. But for what we saw against Bournemouth, it was exciting, to put it that way. But I think a lot of Liverpool fans will be worried going forward, especially if they don't bring in a centre back or at least a defensive midfielder.
Liverpool 3 points, Manchester City 4-0 winners against Wolves away from home at the Molineux. Chelsea dropped points against Crystal Palace. and Arsenal, of course, defeated Manchester United. Bankole, do you think the first round of games, the performances set the tone for this season? Do you think City, Liverpool look like they will be heads and shoulders above the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, or do you think it's just the first game of the season? Let's not read too much into it.
I don't think so. I think for the start of every new season, it takes a while for a couple of teams to get up to speed.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider Chelsea didn't have a proper preseason. They only had one weekend of preseason. That was the game against Bayern Leverkusen and AC Milan. So it probably might take them 2-3 games to get up to speed. And when you consider they are playing one of the most defensive, disciplined side, in the country, in Crystal Palace, defeated Manchester City, defeated Liverpool in consecutive cup finals. Yeah. So I think as time goes on, you would have this Chelsea, the likes of Arsenal, improve, grow into the conversation. Also for Manchester City, I still think Wolves was not the best of opponents to test their mental. I mean, James Trafford, even though I enjoyed what he did, I don't think it was tested severely. I don't think the defense was tested severely. John Stones, his fitness is something you can't bank on, and he started that game alongside Ruben Diaz. So I look at all of this, and it's still, 38 games, and just one match there. There's still a lot of time to go in the English Premier League. But yeah, these 4 teams would most likely, make up the top 4 bids, the Champions League places, and also the title contenders.
All right. For Manchester United, they hosted Arsenal in what was the biggest game of the weekend, and for the very first time in a long, long while, there were positives for United even in defeat. Do you think Ruben Amorim is up to something?
I subscribe to the fact that yes, we've seen worse performances from United, especially at Old Trafford. They lost 9 games in the league last season at home. But yeah, this is a team that still have a lot of questions to be answered. The goalkeeping situation, if a goalkeeper doesn't join this team, a better goalkeeper, an upgrade to Bayende and Onana, if he doesn't join this team, I still think they'll suffer. I still think there are question marks in midfield. Casemiro, yes, he has looked fitter in preseason and also in this game against Arsenal. But can he go the distance? There are no European games, but it's Casemiro. His father's time has caught up to him. And Mugate is not at this level, I don't think he can cut it. So I look at all of these things. Yes, the front 3 is a lovely upgrade. I also think there's a conundrum with Bruno Fernandes. If you meet a team that can control that midfield, which Arsenal didn't, I don't think United would have so much joy. It was not down to United being good. It was just down to Arsenal being really, really poor.
All right, Bankole, for Arsenal, that lack of creativity, not just in wide areas, but centrally, was obvious, and we saw Gyökeres struggle. It was ran ragged by Matthijs de Ligt and Lenny Yoro. What do you make of it? Again, do they get a pass because it's the first game of the season? But on the flip side, this is an issue that we saw last season coming into this season. And for Gyökeres, what did you make of his debut? I don't think he had the best of debut.
Yeah, let me start off with Gyökeres. I also don't think he had the best of debut. I think he struggled with most of the technicalities. If it was mental errors, I would let it slide. But these were technical errors. These were the things that he couldn't do. It's not a case of fitness. It's not a case of, even though you can say maybe physically there's still levels that he can hit, but his touches, the runs that he was making, the way he was trying to attack his spaces,
his movement.
It was a bit of him maybe trying to get used to Arsenal, and it was a baptism of fire. There's still a lot of time to go. It's like we said, it's still the first match, Jay. Yeah. So let's give him time. But for your other question, well, I think it has been a systematic problem for Arsenal. Even from last season, there were a lot of talks about if a striker comes in, it's going to automatically solve a lot of things. But I don't think so. I think this is a problem that is down to coaching. Mikel Arteta has, over a long time, has prioritized obsession in control. He has been. He's a control freak, basically, and with that, you don't tend to see, the best of your players. You stifle the creativity of these players. When everything is robotic, every move, every pass is robotic, then the creativity is stifled. You look at Odegaard; he's not the Odegaard we saw a couple of years ago. Bukayo Saka also looks like
also a different Odegaard for Norway.
Yeah, he's also a different Odegaard from Norway. You look at the amount of passes he makes at Norway. Yes, it can be quite risky, but this is the characteristics of a playmaker, the characteristics of a chance creator.
Yeah.
You take a lot of balls and couple stick, and especially when you have a striker like Gyökeres, you look on the left, Martinelli is a shadow of himself. Bukayo Saka, it might be down to fitness also, but it wasn't exactly in the game. And also you look at the bench, there was nothing on the bench. Madueke is not someone that strikes confidence into, as a matter of fact, strikes confidence into the defenders.
Yeah.
So I struggle to see how this can work out. I'm not blaming the players. I think it's just down to Arteta, and if he can only just loosen up a little bit, and we'll see a change in outcome.
Away from Old Trafford, Bankole, Manchester City, like I said earlier on, defeated Wolves away from home at the Molineux. And for Spurs, it was a 3-home win against Burnley. Both sides face off at the Etihad this weekend. What are we expecting? For me, I think it's a proper test, the first real test for both managers. For Man City, it's a test of where they are right now and their character. And for Spurs, it's the first big test for Thomas Frank.
I think the first big test for Thomas Frank was PSG game.
I thought that was still preseason mode.
The UEFA Super Cup is a major trophy.
Really?
I think if he was to go into that game against Manchester City, the templates that he used against PSG would come in handy. Look at how they stifled the places. You look at how they made it uncomfortable for PSG to pass the ball. The pressing was, was organized, unlike what we used to see from Hans Postecoglou.
Yeah.
It was just chaos, but this time it was a bit of organized chaos. There was a method to that pressing, and I have been impressed with Thomas Frank. I think he's one of the best tactical minds in the Premier League. So against Manchester City, the defense will be tested. Norrie would probably have to sit up better than what he did against Wolves against Mohamed Kudus. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. And by that time, he might have an easy, at Spurs already. So it remains to be seen how that will work out. So I think I agree with you. It's a big test for Manchester City, and also the pressure is on Manchester City to continue from where they stopped them against Wolves. So it will be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, it's two of the best tactical minds in the game, in the league.
Yeah.
It will be nice to see the chess match that will ensue from that game.
All right, from England, we head straight to Spain. Bankole, new season, same old Barcelona defeated Mallorca by 3-0, but it wasn't without controversy. 2 red cards, the goal by Ferran Torres. Did the referee blow the Mallorca players stop? But again, the rule in football is you play to the whistle. But all in all, we saw the very best of FC Barcelona, and it's going to take some beating to stop them. Yeah,
but also the rule in football also states that if a end injury occurs, the referee should stop the game.
Was that a head injury?
Yeah, if it was a brute force to the head by the ball. So I expected the referee to stop the game. I think the Mallorca players expected the referee to stop the game. Even a couple of Barcelona players expected the referee to stop the game. So it was just terrible officiating. It was poor officiating, and I don't think that's the best way to kick off the La Liga season in Spain. So, but yes, Barcelona generally same of the same.
Yeah.
Rafinha, Ferran Torres, Lamine Yamal also. Look at the goal he scored. The third goal for Barcelona. It was an amazing performance from Barcelona generally. And we talked about how the bookies believed Real Madrid were the favourites.
Yeah.
I think this performance just goes to show that the bookies are just setting you up. You need to watch the game to know who is the best team at the moment. Yes, Real Madrid might go on and do better. Real Madrid might go on and win. But from all the facts, from all indication, Barcelona are a well-placed team, to go on to defend that title.
Not so much confidence for Atletico Madrid. Lost to Espanyol, another Catalan team. 1-0 up with Alvarez's fantastic free kick. I don't seem to understand Diego Simeone. You were leading, you were comfortable, and you took out your best midfielders, changed the setup, and it went downhill from there. Yeah,
absolutely. It made zero sense, especially at halftime. You took out Johnny Cardozo and Conor Gallagher, and these were the guys who ensured that you had control of the midfield. Yeah. These were the guys who ensured that the Espanyol players didn't have a sniff of the ball in the middle. So yes, you could see Cardozo had a yellow card, but he's a defensive midfielder. You would believe that he would have the sense to control himself, to compose himself, regardless of his yellow card. So I don't think the loss should be blamed on the player. I think this was Simeone, and it stems back down to the fact that there are no expectations of Simeone. No matter how much he spends in the market, he can just go there and finish behind Real Madrid and Barcelona, and no consequences. So it's still same old Atletico Madrid.
We'll go on a short break. When we return on the other side, the MPFL 2025-2026 season starts this weekend. We'll give you the fixtures and a couple of talking points. Welcome back from that short break. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Sports Pizza. We give you the very best of sports analysis, information, education, and a bit of entertainment. You can follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. And we're coming back on Bankole. The NPFL season starts this weekend. Are you excited?
Yeah,
as excited as your facial expression betrays
as
your
excited
comments.
as I can be for
Okay.
the NPFL. It's I don't know, the NPFL has not proven to inspire confidence in a lot of not just journalists but also football fans. You can't believe in a product that has zero quality. I've always continued to preach it. I always continue to preach it. You don't have any source of any medium of displaying your league. You don't have the quality of players that we've also seen in Chan. I don't think it would spur a lot of people to take their time out to visit stadiums to watch club sides. So yeah, I struggle to see how they would sell the NPFL. But as a journalist, this is my job to cover the NPFL. So yeah, I'm a bit excited.
All right, it's a blockbuster opening weekend. Remo Stars, defending champion, host runner-up Rivers United.
Yeah, so for Remo Stars, I think the Chan has done a huge disservice for them. They have 9 players currently in that competition. I don't think they'll be able to make it back in time for the opening weekend of the NPFL. Even if they do, their fitness and how they can get up to speed would be in question. Even their manager also is away for Chan duty. Yeah. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how these two teams, two of the best teams in the league in the last 3-4 years, if we're being honest. It's a way to kick off the league. So I think it's going to be one of the exciting games of the opening weekends.
A quick look at some of the fixtures. Abia Warriors host Kano Pillars. El Kanemi at home to Bendel Insurance. Shooting Stars with a new backroom staff will entertain Biosar United. Niger Tornadoes are up against Nasarawa United. Wiki Tourist host Plateau United. Kwara United entertain Ikorodu City. Rangers at home to Kun Khalifa, one of the newly promoted sides. Kasuna United host Warriors, and Barao FC host Enyimba, another newly promoted side. A quick one, Bakole, your top 4 teams in the NPFL at the end of the season.
Well, you can't look beyond the usual suspects, the Remo Stars of this world, the Rivers United of this world, the Enyimbas of this world, and probably the Enugu Rangers of this world. These are the 4 teams that you would always start heading into every season to do well. So it's between these 4 teams. The arrangement on the table remains to be seen, but I think you can't look beyond Remo Stars, Rivers United, Enyimba, and Enugu Rangers. And
from Nigeria, we head straight to the United States of America. This weekend, the 4th and final Grand Slam competition of the year takes place. It is the US Open. Bankole, I'm excited. It is back to hard courts. We did the hard courts, Australian Open. After that, it was the French Open, clay courts, Wimbledon grass. We're back to hard courts. The usual suspects, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz. If both players, which I think will happen, on different sides of the draw, you expect them to make the final.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't see any other person, pulling up trees in the ATP tour, in the ATP circuit. So you can't look beyond Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Sinner has been playing out of his skin recently. Same thing for Carlos Alcaraz. These are the 2 best tennis players in the game currently. So yeah, you expect them to get to the final of the US Open. For the WTA, is also the usual suspects. The Iga Swiatek, the Sabalenka.
But it has a bit of unpredictability.
Yeah, but I still think that at the end of the day, especially for hard courts, you'd see one of the usual suspects make it to the final. The Sabalenkas of this world, the Swiateks of this world, the Anisimovas of this world.
Coco Gauff.
Yeah, maybe home advantage might spur on into getting the final. So these are still the likely guys that you will be seeing. Really going on to win the US Open. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's the best of tennis, the final Grand Slam of the year, and yeah, would see the best of players slug it out right there.
All right, before we give you our video for the week, it's time for our series, Start, Bench and Drop. This time it's 3 of the greatest defenders in the history of the Premier League. Nemanja Vidic, John Terry, Virgil van Dijk.
So I'll start John Terry. I think he had everything in his locker. He brute force, technicality, he could also pass the ball properly, and he was one of those centre backs that could play on the left, on the right, regardless. Nobody knew his weaker foot. You know, he was complete, to put it that way. And longevity also plays a part for John Terry. Right from he made his debut in '98 for Chelsea, and retired in 2016, 2015. So yeah, I think I'll go with John Terry. Vidic on the bench for me. Same thing with John Terry, aside from just the longevity part, but I also think he's a bit below Terry in terms of technical ability. His physicality absolutely covered every technical deficiency he had, but he was also one of the best defenders in the game, and that partnership with Ferdinand, was also one of the best partnership in United's history. For Van Dijk, yeah, I would say Van Dijk. I don't think he's anywhere close to these two.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's anywhere close to these two. So for Van Dijk in Scotland, in Southampton, and also at Liverpool, he has always been exceptionally good at defending space. And I've said this a lot of times. You see him cover space. He reads the game perfectly. But in terms of dwells, in terms of going into tackles and winning those tackles, having confidence that your defender can go into a tackle and win, it is not Virgil van Dijk, and that is not what you expect, from someone who should be in the all-timer conversations. All
right, thank you very much, Bankole. I'm sure Liverpool fans will leave their comments on our social media handles. We're going to break. Enjoy a video for the week. When we return, it's going to be time for Tipsters Corners, and we have a couple of games for you. For Arsenal fans, you take the win, definitely. The performance, not so much. For United fans, performance encouraging, but the points were very important. And it's time for the Tipsters Corner, Bankole. We're going straight to the English Premier League. We have two big games coming up this weekend. Manchester City host Tottenham Hotspur at the Etihad Stadium, while Newcastle at the St. James's Park host Liverpool.
Yeah, for Newcastle against Liverpool at the St. James's Park, there's always this extra intensity. Newcastle tends to be at home. They are always...
You add the Isak subplot.
Yeah, the Isak drama. It's probably the Isak derby. So you look at all of this, and the fact that Liverpool have shown that they don't have will I say capability to take in chaos. It is always chaotic these days when you play Liverpool. So and Newcastle are the masters of chaos. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of goals, probably an over 2.5. Both teams to score would suffice. 0.5 first half goal. I also think that is going to be fruitful for our tipsters. We are going to see a lot of goals in that particular encounter, be it from Liverpool and also from Newcastle. For Manchester City against Tottenham, I think now this is a game where we won't see a lot of goals. Now this is a game where
both sides gave us seven goals combined on the opening weekend.
But with Thomas Frank, he tends to adapt to his opponents. And Manchester City are one of the best teams in the league, so he's going to adapt to that. He's going to ensure, especially when you consider his time at Brentford also, he was always conservative against the big teams, and for Spurs I don't think it's going to change. I think I'm going to see less goals, probably a double chance Manchester City and under 4.5, or probably just an under 3.5. Any team to score 3 in a row, no. I think that is also something that our tipsters would benefit from.
All right, thank you very much, Bankole, for giving us some very interesting tips going into the weekend. If you have enjoyed this show, please give us a follow on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. We also have a YouTube page. You can check out exciting videos for your viewing pleasure. This is where we drop anchor on today's edition of Sports Pizza. Bankole, always a pleasure doing this with you.
It's always a pleasure being here with you, Edwin. And from myself to our viewers, have yourself a lovely, lovely day.
And from me, Edwin Onyeboli, said, do have a sporting weekend.